I've left the capital for the Midwest. In Newton Falls, Ohio, I'm following in the footsteps of a certain billionaire.
My wife will love it.
I arrive for breakfast with Daniel, an Obama supporter who voted for Trump 8 years on. I'm the second complete stranger who's turned up for a meal at his home recently. The first was Zuckerberg.
Mark coming in and sitting where you're sitting and saying, "You're probably all wondering why I'm here." Right. And I'm like, yeah, I did wonder that, Mark, you know? And yeah, that's when he told me he's on his, the cross-country tour and getting out and talking, wanting to connect with people and talk with them, getting to know people better.
The drop-in at Daniel's was part of Zuckerberg's self-styled Year of Travel project to the 30 US states he's never seen. These meet-the-people truck stops have been interpreted by some as a putative presidential bid. His team told Daniel that would be wrong.
Just relax. He says you can talk to anybody you want. Just make sure you emphasize the fact that Mark is not running for president in 2020. That's funny.
Ben Sokis has been studying Zuckerberg's philanthropic activity. Does he see it as political?
I do not necessarily think it means he's running for president. I think these days the blurring of the balance between the political and the philanthropic means that the demands on a philanthropist to actually understand his public, so to speak, are similar to a national politician. Everything he does now is essentially political. His philanthropic ambitions and his commercial, corporate ambitions are now political. One doesn't have to run for public office to be a deeply political figure.
When we launched the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative.
2 years ago, Mark and his wife launched CZI, a limited liability company that offers enormous flexibility and demands very little transparency. Ben thinks the private power of these wealthy philanthropists is of huge concern.
I think that in many cases Mark Zuckerberg is probably doing very good work, but one individual is able to have an oversized impact on public policy, and well beyond what a normal citizen can have. And there's something profoundly troubling about that. Something that runs counter to some core democratic, egalitarian principles.
When I met Zuckerberg all those years ago, his mission was one of technological utopia. He embodied a youthful optimism that the world wanted to share recipes and running routes, baby photos and pet videos.
Everyone is going to have a much better experience when they're doing different things with their friends.
From a dorm room in Harvard, he created the outstanding economic success story of this century, a social media giant with 2 billion active users, or what may be a third of the world within another year. He could never have imagined that sharing would evolve into something quite so dark.
There's breaking news on Facebook's involvement with Russian influence in the 2016 presidential.
CBS News has learned new information about the extent of Russian-linked activities on Facebook.
Admitting they were paid more than $100,000 by Russian companies during the election.
And I made some decisions on the next steps that we're going to be taking.
Mark Zuckerberg returned from paternity leave and was forced to make a public statement.
I care deeply about the democratic process and protecting its integrity. Facebook's mission is all about giving people a voice and bringing people closer together. Those are democratic values, and we're proud of them. I don't want anyone to use our tools to undermine democracy.
But just this month, lawmakers in a Senate committee hearing were telling the tech giants they're out of touch.
I don't think you get it. You bear this responsibility. You've created these platforms, and now they are being misused. And you have to be the ones to do something about it.
But some have noticed a shift. Where once Zuckerberg talked of connectivity, now he talks about community. Is this a move to make the company sound less techie, more human?
He and the other internet billionaires are the new robber barons. And just like the robber barons of old were challenged by people who said, like, this is bad for democracy to have so few people with so much money and power. Well, what did the robber barons do? They started to build libraries and museums to say, we're doing good for society. That they really want to see themselves as sort of Promethean figures who are remaking society, you know, like all this language of disruption, of, you know, like breaking things, of remaking the world. I think that he has sort of very grand ambition.
So now I'm wondering if this mission has taken on a more pressing dimension, a way to get the public back on Facebook's side. Mark Zuckerberg has 98 million friends on Facebook. In person, he can clearly impress.
I was very nervous, but he put us all at ease. He's just like, I almost felt like I was talking to my little brother, you know? I didn't feel so, but I was first nervous as heck, you know, like, oh my goodness, Mark, you know, because he's a billionaire.
But I'm still curious to know if a swing voter like Daniel will come with me on a hypothetical.
Mark Zuckerberg would have a very good chance
So if it was
of winning the election.
Donald Trump and Mark Zuckerberg in 2020, which way would you go?
You know, I was asked that question before, and I'm going to say it'd be close.